Hello, viewers. I hope you are well and keeping safe wherever it is that you are watching us from. Welcome to the New Times Roundtable. This has been a series of discussions around the DR Congo crisis. And today I have with me Mr. James Munyaneza. He is a chief editor at the New Times. Karibu sana.
Thank you for having me, Jesse.
You're welcome. And we'll also be joined later on call by James Karuhanga, who is at Rusizi, at the Rusizi border, and he'll be telling us the situation there. James, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. So, James, if you could probably describe for us the situation at the border right now. I know you're in Rusizi. What is the situation there?
It's evening, and the border is closed because the border was opened on Tuesday. It was open to be a 6 to 6 operation.
Mm-hmm.
So right now they are closed. So
okay.
Nothing might be going on.
But how has been the movement?
Earlier in the day, it was very busy. In and out.
Okay, so we have heard of allegations that the Burundian troops are withdrawing. From the ground, what do you have?
Yes, I've heard the same, and I try to contact people in Congo because I talked to two different sources. These are people I met in Bugarama on the border, the other border with Rwanda, the other Congo-Rwanda border, in the Bugarama border. People I met on Monday, these are Congolese who are returning to Congo. It's funny in a way because they were moving from Congo through one side of the Rwandan border and then going back to Congo through another side, that is the Rusizi one border post. We kept in touch. I asked him earlier today about the rumors, what I was at the time, I think, calling rumors, that I eventually, according to them, it is happening. It is real. The Burundians are withdrawing, going back to Burundi. I think I don't know what is happening the other side, but I want to think it's a tactical withdrawal. But what is happening is they are withdrawing. This is happening far away from here, far away from Bukavu, towards a place called Uvira, the Ruzizi Plains. I don't know if you can see that on the map. That's where it's happening. That's where they're withdrawing from.
Okay. There were also other allegations that there was a Lendo turned their guns on the FARDC soldiers. Do you have any information around that?
Yes, this also happened a lot. So what happened was, especially I think it started when last week when the Alliance Fleuve Congo or M23 rebels moved in to capture Kavumu airport. That's a strategic airport, some 25 kilometers north from here. When the Congolese government army coalition kind of started when they started being hit hard and retreating or withdrawing, there was, I think, misunderstanding or lack of coordination. Because apparently, what I hear is that the regular army, the so-called FARDC, could not just stand their ground and fight, and there was a end of the militia men who wanted to fight, but they were being kind of let down. So whenever they met the Congolese regular army, they actually fought. They were like, "You guys are letting us down." So the confrontation was coming from that kind of scenario. Yeah.
We also had of allegations, Karuhanga, that M23 shot some young people who were armed. What was the story around that?
Well, I've heard that. That's coming from the UN. The Congolese that I've talked to, and even before I talk to them, this is a situation that we realize is happening. Starting Friday, Saturday, you remember there was a lot of vandalism and looting going on when a vacuum was left behind by the freeing Congolese Army coalition from Bukavu. So what happened is this freeing Congolese Army coalition left a lot of arms, guns and ammunition around the place. So, I mean, a lot of guns were left in the wrong hands. Street kids or any other vagabonds in the city, they picked up arms. And one of the incidents among many that I know of now is that when the rebels came in, sometimes they would even exchange fire with people they might even think are real soldiers, yet they are not. So I think this could be coming from that kind of scenario. But if they did actually shoot and kill young people or children as the UN reports, which I'm not confirming or I'm not able to confirm, I don't think it would have been a deliberate plan to kill young children. But what we have is a very confusing situation, as you could imagine, whereby arms are in the wrong hands.
Yeah. So what is the security situation in Bukavu?
So what we gathered as regards the security situation is, I mean, there's no more fighting, no more looting like what we could gather from the social media videos that we all saw on Saturday and Friday. It's calm. People are going about their normal, usual businesses. But what I saw is that, I mean, market areas, we visited 2 markets, and there were beehives of activity, traders all over the place, people selling usual merchandise in a market. I gathered that schools were not yet open, but there was I can't say traffic jam, but taxis, buses were moving, people are moving all over the place. Not all the shops were open, but shops were open. Yeah.
Okay. So life is slowly moving back to normal.
Not fully, because again, the security situation. I recall we also met the AFC M23 spokesperson, that's Laurence Kanyuka. We asked him about the security. He said everything is fine, but he also admitted, he acknowledged the fact that they still have pockets of insecurity that they are yet to, fully manage.
Okay. Okay. So finally, we are seeing Congolese going back, crossing back to Bukavu. Is that the picture now?
Yes, and that started 2 days, the day before yesterday. I read reports that are misleading. These were not Congolese who had fled to Rwanda going back to Congo. These are Congolese who had fled. They were basically internally displaced persons from several areas of their country. It can be confusing because if you see people, hundreds, crossing from Congo through the Bugarama border, and then they moved through Rwanda they were put on buses that I think that it's a distance of about 38 or 40 kilometers from Bugarama to Rusizi. Then in Rusizi, they again crossed into Congo, to Bukavu. So they are moving from Congo to Congo, but through Rwanda. These are internally displaced people who, were going back to their homes. Some were also, some went back to Congo through Goma. Mm-hmm. I don't remember how many, but most were returning home through Bukavu.
All right. Karuranga, thank you very much. We'll stay in touch. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Recently, you were in Goma, and we know that there have been conversations that the humanitarian situation in Goma has been worsening. Goma is now under the M23, but being on ground, what did you find?
Thank you, Tessie. It is indeed the case. I was privileged to be in Goma to witness what's going on after the M23 movement took the city. And of course I wanted to see exactly what is it that is going on. Yeah, of course there had been these allegations about the humanitarian situation worsening. But of course you have to look at the origin of these allegations. In most cases, these allegations coming from also people who had interests in maintaining a situation of emergency, humanitarian industry and other organizations, of course. And obviously nobody wants to accept, especially on the part of the Congolese government, that places that are under the control of rebels are having increasing the situation is bettering for the people.
Yes.
So, but from what I saw when I arrived, initially I arrived on a Saturday, I was able to have a ride around the town. I later joined up with friends. We had a conversation, spent like 2 hours having a good chat around, again, the same situation, the crisis in general, at a coffee shop. In fact, from that conversation, it really inspired me to identify some possible story lines to chase. Yeah, so, but of course that was a weekend, not so much activity as you would expect, but I didn't go to the suburbs. So Monday, that's when I now had the opportunity to really now go and see what's going on down there, in the markets. So there's a place called Rwanda, for instance.
Yes.
It's like 10 times or 15 times bigger than the population of Nyabugogo. And there are videos, you see videos, so many people, everybody, very busy. This is a place of small scale traders, youth, women, some of them with children, very busy. So the next day, we had, in fact, that same day, it's when the mayor or the governor had issued the instructions to public servants to resume work.
Okay.
That same Monday, this is Monday of last week, the immigration office had opened, and there were long lines of people looking for travel documents. Of course, most of them traveling across the border to Rwanda, in Rwanda. So it's basically the small short-term travel papers that they'll be looking for. Further afield, we proceeded to outside Goma, of course. Later, when I headed to a place called Kamanyora, there used to be a very large concentration of IDPs, internally displaced persons. It was a huge camp. There was none there. There's nobody there. It was emptied.
Wow.
And this had been so many, couple of days before. Yeah, so, and the other residents who normally stay there, they were going about their life. So I didn't get a sense that the situation is worsening. To the contrary, I thought, considering a war kind of situation, or immediate post-war situations, I thought there was a sense of optimism and positivity. And of course, this week we saw images of traffic police on the roads, you know, trying to enforce the orderliness on the roads as well, because there was a lot of traffic as well when I was there earlier last week. You would still, of course, see some M23 fighters on patrol. Not everywhere, as maybe at one point I'd expected, but you would see them once in a while. Interesting part is that you would also see MONUSCO, the UN peacekeepers also on patrol, and they're not seeing eye to eye, but somehow they coordinate, they communicate. Yeah, so I would say generally, I didn't get a sense that the situation was worsening, at least in the areas I managed to visit.
I'm curious about the airport, because there's a lot of calls for the Goma airport to be reopened. If you manage to get there, what is the situation in the airport?
Yes, I did manage to visit, of course, the airport.
Yeah.
As you know, that's one of the areas where there was intense. In fact, it was the scene of the most intense fighting leading up to the capture of the city of Goma, I think on 28th of Jan last month. The city, the airport itself is out of, it's not functioning. When you, in fact, as we entered, and this was Monday of last week, we met a Red Cross car, a vehicle carrying dead bodies of soldiers who had died during the battle at the airport.
This is Monday last week?
This is Monday last week, around a couple of days, not almost 2 weeks after M23 had taken the city. So, and then, of course, that hits you. We entered the airport. There is, debris from the fighting all over the place. There's wreckage, abandoned vehicles. They're still on the runway. Explosives, grenades, ammunitions strewn across the airport, on the tarmac, but also around the tarmac. And we even saw Red Cross was still finding bodies, putting them in bags, and you would see them. So of course, the situation, one would say, okay, did the M23 deliberately not clean it up, clear, the place? And I tried to ask, and I was told that there was a team that is currently, as of then, that was in the process of, taking care of these explosives and exploded the ordinances and all. And they were expected to be coming at one point to the airport as well. So I would say the airport as it is, in terms of safety of, let's say, for passengers, it's not a place a plane can land. It's not a place that is safe for passengers.
I think it's important to paint that picture, because those calls are increasingly coming to reopen the airport. You are also at an FDLR frontline base. First of all, what gave it away? How did you know it was an FDLR base?
You know, Monday, the first day I was at the airport in Goma, I was taken around by an M23 major. In fact, the gentleman who led the force that eventually took the airport, and at one point we visited what used to be the Joint Command Center. There was one flag that was that of MONUSCO, the UN peacekeepers, but there were three other flag poles that had no flags, and I asked, so which flags were on those poles? And he said one was for SADC forces, the other one was for Burundi, and the other one was for, of course, Congo. But then he did add that there are other actors who did not have their flags up, but they were deeply involved in the operations at the command center. And he said FDLR. And of course, as you know, FDLR, for the uninitiated, these remnants. FDLR is basically a group founded by extremists linked to the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. Yeah. So 1994, there was an army that lost in Rwanda by the process. That army, as it was losing the war, together with the militia, Nyaramo militia, they basically killed people. But this had been planned, the genocide campaign. And after 3 months, when they were driven out of the country, or when they were defeated, they crossed into Congo, and they were received with open arms by Mobutu government. He was friends with President Habyarimana back then here. Habyarimana had died, so his friend gave a very good reception, warm reception to FAR. That's the defeated armed forces of Rwanda at that time, to Interahamwe militia that killed people in the genocide. To the genocide machinery, they crossed into the Congo with their arms. Nobody disarmed them. Of course, cutting the story short, along the way, they set up different organizations, an organization specifically called ARIL, which later morphed into FDLR. But FDLR also has, and people have made that argument, young people. Yes. But I think the point is that the founders are people who participated, the ringleaders in some cases, in the genocide here in Rwanda. And then that ideology was exported in a very meticulously organized way to Eastern Congo. This ideology, in the end, was spread to some Congolese groups. Eventually, even in government, to the extent that now the Kinyarwanda-speaking Congolese communities, specifically those identified as Tutsi, started to be targeted. Now, I want to come back to the command center. So, and I was just giving that background of FDLR. When this war began, there had been a lot of allegations coming from Rwanda and some other quarters, and also from M23, that the Congo army was actually working with with the FDLR not just working, but they had integrated FDLR in their ranks. So at the command center, it is repeated that yes, FDLR had active involvement. And I asked them how, what evidence? They say no, they are maps.
Okay.
They are maps that had been put together with coordinates. They had identified some installations in Rwanda. This intelligence was partly coming from FDLR people. So there were details, and FDLR knows, of course, Rwanda. There are people who came from Rwanda.
Yeah.
And then he said, there's a place where now in the battle, in the field out there, you see it comes out very clearly how there is what you call continuous deployment. This is like deployments of different forces and in very close proximity. Yeah, so that really sparked the interest. So the next day, we go to the field out there where there were, a lot of fighting. So we drive from Goma. First, we went to a place called Kilimanyoka. And at Kilimanyoka, you have a facility of there was a camp for special forces of Congo, and the presidential guard of Congo at Kilimanyoka. It faces Rwanda, so even how they did their defensive sandbags and the trenches and all, you could see that it, overseas Rwanda. That is the Rubavu. So from there, we proceeded to a place called the Kanyamahoro. And the Kanyamahoro now, that's the FDLR base. Okay. It was right at the head, of all the different other deployments, because there are also SADC deployments, there are also mercenary camps, MONUSCO deployments as well. But at the head of this deployment layout, you have the FDLR. And where are they? Based in Kanyamahoro. And where is Kanyamahoro? Kanyamahoro is just across from the border of Rwanda. It is actually 3 kilometers from the Rwandan border.
3 kilometers?
Yeah. It overlooks Busasamana sector. Busasamana sector in Rubavu district. Interestingly, within that sector, there's actually an RDF base, Rwanda Defense Force base. So for an FDLR force to be stationed 3 kilometers from
an RDF,
it was not for me, and from those I spoke to even several people even after, it was an indication that they were just there, but as part of the broader strategy. If you look at deployment, because after them, you have, as I said, that base for Ibu are the special forces for Congo and the presidential guard at Kilimanyoka. And then in Kiwati, you have a SADC run training facility, whose name is interesting because it relates to apocalypse. Armageddon. So
Armageddon.
yeah. So with one of the units, the Congolese troops there is called Saturn II. That also has something to do with some nasty weaponry stuff, like deadly weapons, basically. But then now from there, across. Now that's behind Kanyamahoro and behind Chibati and Chilimanyoka. You have a range of mountains and hills. One of them, the first one is called Kanyangoma. So it's actually the highest, closest to Goma.
Okay.
Now, on that mountain, there used to be, that's what I was told, a base, another base for FDLR. So it was basically providing cover, protection for the FDLR base that was what you would call the frontline base at Kanyamahoro. So there were lots of deployments of FDLR. In total, they told me they estimated to have been more than 1,000 FDLR fighters in that area. At Kamahoro alone, there were more than 400. Yeah. Now, as you go back to Goma, driving back to Goma, we come across two camps. One, of course, is destroyed, and I'm told that's at 2010. That was a camp for mercenaries. That's what I was told. And I asked the locals there. They confirmed that people who used to be there were whites.
Okay.
Now, right opposite, there's another hill called Chiringo. There's a UN base, a MONUSCO base there. They are in close proximity. There were allegations, again, from the people I spoke to there, including the locals, that they would see regular communication, interaction between. And if that is true, that would be very concerning, because use of mercenaries is prohibited, both at the AU level, I think the Convention of 1977, but also at the UN level internationally, under the Convention, I think, of 89, I think. Because again, these guys, the mercenaries, the history is that they are always associated with abuses, because for them it is money. Where money is, they can do anything. But before reaching the two camps, we drove past another UN. So literally you had a mercenary encampment sitting between MONUSCO, one, and then another MONUSCO there. And then ahead you have the training wing run by the SADC, and then you have in Kilimanyoka the base for Special Forces, Hibu, and the Special Guard and the Presidential Guard, and then just right ahead, 3 kilometers away, under 3 kilometers away, you have the FDLR. And then across the other side, you see Pusasamana, Chanzagwe, the hills of Rwanda, so close. And the explanation when I asked was that these are military experts I was asking. It was intention to have FDLR at the head as the most advanced deployment, because they know Rwanda very well. They know at least Rwanda more than anyone else there. They are the ones with a long-term plan, intention to destabilize Rwanda. Remember, they have been in Eastern Congo, where they have committed also untold abuses for 30 years now. But also they are constantly passing on intelligence information. On Monday, after touring and visiting different places at the airport, we are told that there was a place, an armoury, where you have heavy weaponry and then ammunition and of all different types. So requested to visit. And when you arrive, it is near the kitchen. These are containers. I saw between maybe 35 and 30 containers, most of them full of ammunition, still full.
Unused.
Some of them half, some of them 3/4 full, but the majority of them were still literally full with sealed boxes, thousands of boxes of ammunition. And there are so many of them, and of course I'm not an army military person, and I don't know the names, but I tried to ask, and I could read some of them. So you have both the artillery support weapons. Those are weapons, support weapons. These are artillery heavy weapons that basically can fire in long range distances. I'll give you some examples. I saw containers of what you call 122 millimeter RM 7021 BM. These are missile launchers. So I'd seen these at the airport, but then now the proper missiles were at that facility. And M23 captured more than 2,000 of them.
So this belonged to, is it the government?
Yeah, it was, the government of Congo has a coalition that is supporting them in the fight against M23. So you have the Congo government, you have Burundian government with its forces there. You have thousands of Wazalendo militias, and we had how they are now starting to target FARDC troops because they are choosing them of abandoning the war. Then you have SADC forces, SADC troops specifically from Tanzania, from South Africa, and from Malawi as well. But then now you also have FDLR, which is now clearly from the operational, strategic, tactical perspective, you can see that there's that collaboration there. And then they're also working with MONUSCO, the UN peacekeepers. Now under MONUSCO, there is a wing called FBI, Force Brigade Intervention Brigade, FIB, Force Intervention Brigade. That was deployed in 2013, composed again of Tanzania, of South Africa, and Malawi. At that time, 2013, they defeated M23, and M23 basically left the Congo territory into, many of them Uganda, some of them come to Rwanda. So you basically have all these forces supporting the government of Congo. That's what we are calling the coalition. And then you have mercenaries. I was forgetting the mercenaries. They say, some numbers have said around the 1,100 plus. Others have, estimates have put them at 1,700. Nobody knows exactly
the numbers,
because again, use of mercenaries is not permitted. And so there is a lot of ambiguity on the exact number. So this coalition was in charge of the command center at the airport and the weaponry, armor, the arsenal that we saw later. At that facility, I saw weapons with the Burundi serial numbers, like, labels. the RPGs. Yeah, and as I was saying, that is so many ammunitions and weapons that were captured by M23. I just talked of the 122 millimeter RM70 BMs. Then there is the 122 Hausers, D13. All these are weapons, high caliber weapons that can fire in up to 40 kilometers.
Wow.
Up to 40 kilometers from Goma, you can strike a target behind Rubavu.
Behind
around
Rubavu.
Nyabihu. Yeah. And that is with 100% accuracy. 100% accuracy. Then you have mortars, 120 millimeter mortar guns. These ones guided, that can fire up to 8 kilometers. You have the Katyushas. You have 38 millimeter anti-aircraft. You have 30 millimeter anti-aircraft. You have 20 millimeter anti-aircrafts. You have and the numbers of ammunitions, the rockets, the shells, they're in their thousands. And these ones I saw in the containers, because the officers were just opening one after the other, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. I posted some of them on social media. Later, of course, in our stories as well. And some people were saying, hey, these are bamboos. Yeah, but these are not bamboos. These are very dangerous weapons. Tanks. So tanks, I saw them at the airport, 4 of them. I saw what we call integral weapons. Those ones are not the smaller ones, slightly smaller ones. The other ones were the artillery. So these ones included 82 millimeter mortars, 73 millimeter SPG-9, 60 millimeter guns, 12 millimeter anti-aircraft, 11.5 millimeter guns with over 11,000 cartridges. RPGs had like 3 million cartridges. Assassin sniper weapons. These are dangerous weapons, all of them, as you can. Yeah, SMGs, 300 million cartridges. There are drones. Most of them I found them in Mugambiro. That's in Masisi. It's close to Sache. So Mugambiro. There are also SADC forces there. So there are lots of drones that M23 seized from there, including what they call kamikaze. These are drones that carry explosives. They just come and wait until the target is there, and then it all goes up in flames. Other combat drones, then surveillance drones. So all these you could see, and they're in good shape. They have their cameras, they have everything intact. Then there was somebody who told me, one of the officers, that there were 3 hotels that were being used by mercenaries that had weapons there. Including APCs, these anti-personnel carriers. Yeah, so it's quite. It was quite eye-opening for me what I saw there. And you put everything together. And this is a question I put to experts in this area, and they said, no, there's no way all these weapons, this arsenal that had been assembled by Kinshasa and its allies, were for fighting the M23.
Yeah.
That one was ruled out by so many people.
Yeah.
So they said this was clear. Of course, they also linked it back to what Tshisekedi had been saying about regime change in Rwanda that he wants to effect. Also, President Ndayishimiye of Burundi, who is working with, it's part of the coalition support Tshisekedi, talked of the same. Said Rwandans are in prison. Yeah, they want to come and they help. He's committed to liberate Rwandans. The provocations that had been witnessed over the past 1 to 2 years of cross-border sharing, of violations by planes, the Sukhois and all. Yeah, so clearly you could see that if you connect all the dots,
it makes sense.
maybe there was a plan that indeed, and you saw that there was sharing on the Rwandan territory when just the day before Goma was taken.
Yeah.
So that it was actually, there was an attempt, and not an attempt, it was done.
It was done, and
people died. 16 people died.
Yeah.
Of course, the technology, also defensive technology, helped intercept so many. I was told a barrage, so many, maybe hundreds of them. We don't know exactly how many, but people in Rubavu, they left that place. Some of them, I spoke to them, they had fled all the way to Rutsiro, all the way to Musanze, all the way to Nyabihu. It is the talk of town. Everybody you talk to is, how are you? They're like, hey. We don't want, we are very okay, we are very good, we are very happy, because what we saw the other day was hell.
Yeah.
So now you can imagine if if they had actually done this when there was not under any pressure from M23, and they have all the time to do whatever damage, and then imagine a situation where Rwanda didn't have the defensive technology in the place as well.
And so I think it was Saturday that you probably had traveled, the EAC and SADC for the first time sat in Dar es Salaam. And we've also seen the African Union Peace and Security Council meeting. And in all these meetings, there is one general consensus that the military way is not the way to solve the crisis in DR Congo. And there are calls for dialogue. But we have seen consistently Tshisekedi saying, I will not sit down with the M23 for talks. So where do you see this going?
I wish it was me asking this question. Where is it going? I think the solution is one. It has to be a dialogue. I think in the minds of M23, and they have made this very clear, every time they have made a major gain, advance, or they were taking a city or a major locality, they have always said want to dialogue with Kinshasa.
Yes.
Of course, as we have seen, in most cases they have been attacked. Even after the other day announcing a unilateral ceasefire after taking Goma, they were attacked, which then forced them to respond and go ahead and until they now seized the Bukavu. I think for them it is very clear. Dialogue is the best way forward.
Yeah.
And this has been supported by EAC. We saw just more than a week ago when EAC for the first time and SADC sat around the same table, and they said dialogue must be encouraged, must be done actually.
Yeah.
That was the first time that SADC was actually accepting that, because remember SADC deployed a force, a combat force,
Yeah.
to side with the Tshisekedi side. So that for me was progress. Later, last weekend I think, the AU, Peace and Security Council, endorses the resolutions from
The
EAC
EAC
and SADC meeting. Again, emphasizing peace talks. Was it yesterday? I was seeing the Secretary General of the UN talking about the need for also FDLR to be disarmed. Then the rest can follow.
Okay.
Which I felt maybe we are, for the first time, somebody is maybe seeing reality. But is it something that, I mean, dialogue, is it something that President Tshisekedi is waiting to do or to embrace? I'm not very confident. But I guess he has friends, allies who will probably and maybe and hopefully insist that he embraces dialogue, because we have had on several many occasions people saying, we sat with the president, we asked, are these people Congolese? He said they are Congolese. And the question, why don't you talk to them?
Yeah.
But of course, there has always been this talk of this is Rwanda. No, but we see these images.
Yeah.
We know the names of these people, from the president, from the, the head of the movement, M23 or AFC stroke M23, Nanga, Corneille Nanga, he used to be the head of the Electoral Commission in Congo. How is he Rwandan? He's the guy who actually endorsed the Tshisekedi as the winner of the elections the first time.
Yeah.
So how is he Rwandan? Then Bisimwa, who is the head of M23, and the deputy coordinator of the movement, that coalition they have put together. He's known, he's Congolese.
Yeah. Yeah.
These senior officers that we all know, Machenga, he's Congolese, he's known. He was part of, he defected from Bukavu when he was a senior officer already in FARDC. The gentleman who spoke to the media after they took Bukavu, Biamungu, I think he's a brigadier general. He's a guy who was serving under FARDC. At one point he was arrested. After serving time, he was released. He defected. So all these guys, Willy Goma, they are all known. So the question is, if you know these people and they're saying, we are home, we want to have a conversation, we are fighting ethnic cleansing, we are against the discrimination, we are against the violence, we are against corruption. Now they have been inviting all the other players opposed to the current government in Kinshasa. How do you dismiss these people as non-Congolese?
Yeah.
And there's this common line they always put, these organizations, everybody who, the countries and all, and they say the sovereign integrity, the integrity, territorial integrity and sovereignty of the Congo. These are Congolese. How are they violating the sovereignty of their own country? Yeah. And you know, I know lately talk of M23 should be withdrawing has lessened. It is not as frequent as it was before. But to those who are asking them to withdraw where? This is their home. These are their ancestral lands. This is their home. So you want them to withdraw to where? So all these put together make a case for peace talks.
Yeah.
And I think somebody should be able to firmly make it very clear to President Tshisekedi that there won't be another way out than a political solution.
Yeah.
And of course, finally, I want to talk about the role of the different other players, especially international community. International community, I think they have been sabotaging the efforts at making peace in Eastern Congo. They have influenced Kinshasa to take a headline position. You have countries, and you saw what the Belgian government has been saying.
Yeah.
Of course, the same government, the same country that is at the heart of all these troubles, as the people who colonized the Rwanda and the Congo, but also Burundi. Talking about territorial integrity, choosing, of course, Rwanda of deploying in the Congo, and that naturally will send a message to Kinshasa that we have backers, we have people who are in our corner.
Yeah.
We do not have to. We can stick to our narrative. We now that they are speaking our language. Now actually it's now push for sanctions on Rwanda.
Yeah.
But you can sanction Rwanda, you can do whatever, but at the end of the day, the next morning you have your citizens, Congolese are there, you have to deal with them.
That's true. Let me bring you my last question, as we are talking about the peace talks, and you mentioned the friends or the allies who are supporting President Tshisekedi. We have now seen South Africa deploying more troops to the DR Congo. The other day, the president of Chad came out to say he's in support of the DRC. What does this do to the spirit of dialogue, to the spirit of peace talks, if you may say? What does that do to these processes?
Yeah, I know I talked about Belgium and other actors in the international community. That has been mostly on the diplomatic front.
Yeah.
But then there are other allies, especially in Africa, who have actually now decided to put boots on the ground.
Yeah.
On the side of Kinshasa. And you just mentioned South Africa, and I was in Goma. I managed to see the situation and the kind of relationship that exists between the SADC forces in the M23 controlled areas, both at the airport and at Mulambiro. And the M23 guys I spoke to there at both sites, they were questioning, what are these guys doing here? This is a home. This is, for them, they are back home. They were refugees, they are back home. They are probably even planning to repatriate, to bring their parents and the other relatives who are in Rwanda, in Uganda, in Burundi, back home. So they're asking, we are home. These guys are here to kill us, to fire at us. Of course, they have defeated, they lost alongside the coalition, government troops and other allies. They are in their camps, yes, with their arms, but they can't move without the authorization or consent of M23.
Yeah.
They communicate, they write put it in writing. We want to have this truck deliver this to us. We want to have this contractor come to us to do this. We want to send one of our people to do ABCD. And M23 have decided to, I felt they were actually magnanimous for me. They are really trying to to not make their life so hard, but we don't know what happens tomorrow. What happens if the supplies run out? M23 people are giving them water to drink. They probably still have some supplies. What happens if these supplies run out? I don't think M23 is going to be very much keen on providing them with all whatever supplies they need. Now, instead of these countries, of course, Malawi signed an order, presidential order, recalling
their people,
withdrawing their troops. I don't think that has been done yet. When I was there, they were still there. I heard that Tanzania was maybe considering a similar move. I'm not so sure. But now, as you said, South Africa, instead of figuring out how to repatriate their soldiers, who are clearly unwanted by them and unwelcome, especially in areas controlled by M23. They are now planning to, or they have already deployed. As I understand, as you said, the direction south of South Kivu, I think, of Uvira, that direction down south of Uvira. I don't see how that is going to help the situation, especially, in fact, it contradicts the spirit, the messages, the wishes of the heads of state from even SADC.
Exactly.
So it's that situation where somebody says this, but they are doing and of course there have been so many theories and so many explanations as to what is in it, why in South Africa, specifically the leaders, why are they doing this? Are there economic interests? But I understand they have been protected. They want to protect or to secure again. But it remains to be seen what their plan is really going forward. Are they going to attack M23 to provoke? Are they going to, because where M23 is reaching, literally government forces, they flee in disarray. That's why Wazalendos are starting to turn their guns on them. But the Wazalendos, they ran before anyone else. The Barundi, the same thing. Where in Goma and in Nyiragongo and parts of Masisi, Barundis disappeared. We would disappear among the first. I was told they were working so closely with FDRL particularly, and they would always make sure that they don't remain behind when FDRL people moved, fleeing. So I wish everybody will see reason and ask Congo to discuss with Congolese and to settle these problems once and for all.
We have to bring this to a close, but thank you very much. James Munyaneza, the chief editor at the New Times, and this discussion is ongoing. There is a lot that is happening, there are a lot of developments that are happening, and we will have more, because I think there is so much to unpack around this crisis. A lot of new developments, as you said, a lot of new players also coming in. So it is an ongoing discussion. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you for giving us a picture of what you found in Goma. And also in absentia, thank you to James Karuhanga, who also gave us a picture of what he found in Rusizi and also across the border in Bukavu. So join us next time for another edition of the Round Table, the New Times Round Table.